Hello guys! Welcome to the Al Rasta channel to discuss and explain the exciting storyline of your favorite series, SwallowedStar episode 192. In the previous episode, we saw Luo Feng once again engage in battle against Purple Clock, who brought along two warrior companions who had reached the limit Immortal King level, Blood Beast and Heavy Arrow. In that battle, Luo Feng rendered his enemies helpless as he fought using a variety of his new trump cards. From the Space Lock Band to the high-level Fire God Origin Crystal to the Fei-Mo Poison. Thanks to these items, Luo Feng was finally able to kill Purple Clock and severely injure his two companions. So what happens next? Alright, let's dive right into the story. Before Purple Clock met his end, he still managed to spread a message regarding the coordinates of Luo Feng, aka Yang, to the foreign race, the figure who had obtained the treasure in the sacrificial tower. From that message, the foreign race warriors now knew Luo Feng's location. However, some of them would rather not act rashly, because Luo Feng had just killed Purple Clock, who was considered quite strong. However, some of them felt there was no need to fear Luo Feng, especially since they were numerous, while Luo Feng was alone and had just fought a battle, which would have weakened him. Thus, some of them began taking action, while others watched from a distance and would only act if the situation permitted. Luo Feng still appeared to be in excellent condition. On the other hand, after being hit by the explosion from the Fire God Origin Crystal, the Blood Beast was not completely dead. It had only lost 42% of its divine body, while the Heavy Arrow had lost 59% of its divine body. Its remaining combat power was now only 10% of its prime condition, meaning there was no hope of winning if the battle continued. As the two of them chatted briefly, Luo Feng reappeared. Seeing this, the two enemies were shocked. How could that madman still be alive? Considering him a threat, they chose to flee. In order to avoid dying at the hands of Luo Feng at the same time, the two scattered and moved along different escape routes. Luo Feng chose to chase after Heavy Arrow first. On the other hand, the group of foreign warriors who had just arrived in the vicinity of the battle found and could sense the amazing residual energy from the shockwave alone. Even though they were now quite a distance away, it was enough to make them wary. What surprised them was when they saw Heavy Arrow and Blood Beast, who were known to be very strong and had reached the limit Immortal King level, now fleeing in fear, being chased by warriors of the human race. On the other hand, Heavy Arrow was still chasing Luo Feng, and he couldn't escape because Luo Feng used his movement technique to match his opponent's speed, which made Heavy Arrow feel annoyed. Knowing that Luo Feng would not let him go, rather than dying without doing anything, Heavy Arrow stopped Luo Feng's movement, turned around, and decided to put up a little resistance. From a distance, he prepared his fire bow and unleashed a technique called Twin Arrow. An arrow accompanied by blue energy shot through the clouds gathered in the sky above one of the planets of the Yanji continent. Even though Heavy Arrow had lost 90% of his combat power, he was still able to launch a powerful attack. While moving towards the approaching enemy attack, Luo Feng admitted that Heavy Arrow was indeed formidable. But, unfortunately, the enemy only had one chance, and that was an attack that Luo Feng would stop directly. Facing Twin Arrow, Luo Feng deflected the Fire Arrow attack, which was his main attack below the surface, causing part of the land to be destroyed as a result. While the sharp blue energy accompanied the Fire Arrow, Luo Feng easily stopped it using the Bright Moon Sword technique, Milky Way across the sky. In addition to being able to counter the opponent's final attack, the crescent-shaped Bright Moon technique did not disappear and continued to move towards King Heavy Arrow. Still not giving up the fight, Heavy Arrow fired another arrow, but it was completely useless. After being hit by Luo Feng's Bright Moon technique, the enemy's body was thrown into the air and carried away by the current. Since the enemy was still alive, Luo Feng then launched a direct attack, slashing the enemy directly with his sword, which had been coated with Fei Mo poison. However, unlike Purple Clock, Heavy Arrow can stop the spread of poison through cell division. But it seems that this technique is useless because the merciless Luo Feng immediately activates the cloud contact vine that appears and then entangles King Heavy Arrow's body. When the enemy could no longer escape, several cloud contact vines coated in poison pierced its body. The Heavy Arrow's body finally fell to the ground. Before that, Luo Feng immediately sent the body of the King Heavy Arrow into the inner world. When King Heavy Arrow's body entered the inner world, Babata told Atuka to check Heavy Arrow's body. From behind the sturdy armor, the two AIs encountered a shocking sight. As Luo Feng returned, he noticed a group of foreign warriors waiting nearby. However, unexpectedly, they immediately left after seeing how terrifying Luo Feng's power was. However, not long after, another group of foreign warriors who had just arrived appeared. Seeing Luo Feng alone, they all immediately attacked together. The group of foreign warriors who had previously chosen to flee but were still watching from afar thought that the group of people who wanted to fight Luo Feng were very, very stupid. Well, that was only natural because they had just arrived, so they didn't have time to see Luo Feng's power, which could even make the Limit Immortal King run away in fear. Now, in front of Luo Feng, there were new enemies: 2 Pinnacle Immortal Kings, 6 High Immortal Kings, and 10 Low Immortal Kings. So there were a total of 18 enemies this time. Luo Feng, whose human body was not yet at the immortal level, made his enemies think they could easily get rid of him. This time, the enemies were truly shameless, guys. They actually ganged up on Luo Feng. That's why, starting from here, Luo Feng will teach them all a lesson. For the spectators watching the battle from afar, they felt fortunate to witness memories they would never forget for the rest of their lives. It would become part of a new history emerging in the universe, and they could see it with their own eyes and heads. He was an elegant young man clad in silver armor like a firefly shining in the darkness, flying freely and tearing apart the immortal warriors who stood in his way. Each slash of his sword was beautiful and mesmerized the audience. One slash was enough to split the earth. One slash was enough to break the vast ocean, and one slash was enough to destroy the sky. In a short time, millions of kilometers of the planet could be destroyed and turned into nothingness. In the depths of that beautiful universe, it looked like a river formed from the light of the sword. After defeating some of the Immortal King's warriors, Luo Feng continued the battle by launching a direct attack, 1 strike, 1 kill, resulting in an instant kill. In the midst of the ongoing massacre, some of the enemies attempted to restrain Luo Feng's rapid movements with a thunder cube formation and launched attacks from various directions simultaneously. However, Luo Feng was able to destroy the enemy formation quite easily before finally unleashing the Bright Moon technique to disable the enemy's attacks, simultaneously destroying his enemies and the planet they stood on. And after realizing that Luo Feng was unbeatable, the remaining enemies who had survived chose to flee. Out of the total 18 Immortal Kings who faced him, only 5 managed to escape alive. On the other hand, the audience, who initially came wanting to attack but changed their minds, now feels angry at Purple Clock for almost inviting them all to die together by summoning them there. They remember that a similar incident occurred about 6,000 years ago, when a human named King Seven Swords used a heavy treasure called Void Grip in the Star Tower. It is known that he destroyed many Immortal Kings at once, and seized many star seals belonging to foreign warriors. And now there was another human named Yang, a figure who made hundreds of Immortal King warriors. They're afraid and unwilling to attack, even though they outnumbered him. Moreover, they were also convinced that Yang had not yet reached the limit Immortal King level, and they thought that Yang must be using expensive equipment. However, one of them thought that Yang would not last long. Well, even though they weren't sure, they still didn't want to attack him. Luo Feng then said to the enemies who were watching him that the limit Immortal King warriors were indeed very powerful, so Luo Feng had to pay dearly to defeat them. For example, here, Luo Feng showed the strongest level, Fire God Origin Crystal, which immediately shocked the enemies and made them move away. They didn't expect Luo Feng to spend his money to buy an item that cost 100 billion yuan, according to the machine race's currency. If that item exploded, they would definitely die instantly. After Luo Feng deactivated the space lock band, Star Fantasy appeared beside him and immediately teleported Luo Feng away from the battle location. The audience believes that the power of the human race is certainly at least equal to that of the warrior known as Limit Immortal King. Speaking of titles, it seems that the human man still does not have a title. All they know is his name, Yang, because they possess a very beautiful sword technique, and a single slash can form a river that can last quite a long time. Like now, there are 13 brilliant sword rivers hanging in the sky, signifying that 13 Immortal Kings have been killed. So the most suitable title for him is King Blade River. The name King Blade River and several clips of his battles spread throughout the universe and among various races. In a short time, King Blade River became a trending topic everywhere. Even though Heavy Arrow was at the limit Immortal King level, he was frightened by Luo Feng, who had not yet reached that level. Even the 5 Immortal Kings who survived fled in fear when fighting Luo Feng. The Blood Beast, who heard the news himself, looked very upset because his name was used as a stepping stone for Luo Feng's popularity. Even though he was upset, the Blood Beast admitted that in the future, Luo Feng would definitely become a great person, as proven after he saw Luo Feng able to withstand the explosion from the strongest Fire God Origin Crystal at a very close distance. In order to catch up with him, the Blood Beast will undergo 100 million years of closed training. He is confident that this is enough time to reach the level of Universe Venerable and will only return after that. Some of the foreign race warriors who heard the rumors about King Blade River hoped not to meet him. However, there were also those who were interested in him, such as a queen from the insect race. On his way home, Luo Feng video called Tianzhen, who praised him for being too strong. Although he remained humble, Luo Feng felt that he was just lucky. For human warriors, Luo Feng had made the human race proud in the interracial arena of the universe. Because of that, many Immortal Kings immediately contacted Luo Feng. There were about 108 people, including Tianzhen, who called him. Additionally, the name King Blade River was frequently shouted at the human race's military base due to his remarkable reputation. Meanwhile, Master Zhen Yun was also very proud to have a disciple like Luo Feng. Not long after, the Chaos City Lord immediately sent a sudden telepathic message to Master Zhen Yan. In essence, Luo Feng's identity as Yang, aka King Blade River, was something that must not be leaked to the public, and that was absolute. Despite his human body still being at the World Master level, he had already been granted the title of King. The Chaos City Lord felt that this particular disciple was truly exceptionally talented. Meanwhile, in his inner world, Luo Feng was experimenting with the purple bell he had obtained from the King Purple Clock. It was a defensive item similar to Shu Wu's wings. When Luo Feng tried to use it together with Shu Wu's wings, it turned out that the two items repelled each other, meaning they could not be used together. Indeed, the purple bell can withstand 90% of physical and soul attacks. But unfortunately, Luo Feng said, there are limitations to its use. If he wants to activate the bell, Luo Feng must first remove Shiwu's wings from his body. Based on Babata's assessment, it was better to choose Shiwu's wings because, in addition to having super strong defenses, Luo Feng could also get a 10,000-fold buff to his World Master power. Meanwhile, regarding the King Heavy Arrow that Luo Feng had previously put into the inner world, it turned out that Luo Feng had spent 120 billion Hun Yuan just to restore that one enemy. Although Luo Feng didn't lose much because in the previous battle he got about 230 billion. Still, Babata felt that Luo Feng spent too much money just for that one person. King Heavy Arrow will now be loyal to Luo Feng because a soul seal has been implanted in his body. This was very useful because King Heavy Arrow had a teleportation skill that could help Luo Feng explore the universe more easily. From an altar used to restore King Heavy Arrow, Luo Feng could feel a wave of consciousness emerging. And then, shortly thereafter, the powerful enemy that Luo Feng had previously defeated appeared from inside the restoration altar ball in good health. Well, earlier when Babata and Atuka checked King Heavy Arrow's armor, they were quite surprised because it was unimaginable that inside the strong-looking armor was a capybara-type animal. Instead of a handsome warrior, it had a cute body and face but pretended to be a tough and cool warrior. Well, will Luo Feng have a pet in his future adventures? This Donghua is getting more and more exciting, guys. Okay, thank you for watching until the end. And don't forget to support this channel with likes, subscribe, and comments. That's all from me. Bye.
俺就是猛男，别小看俺。